Thank you for being here. It's a crowded, early first day of SFF, so thank you for being here, making the time. Now, my name is Sriram Muthukrishnan. I'm from DBS Bank. I'm responsible for transaction banking products and solutions. So that means bringing innovative solutions for cash management and trade finance. But I really want to talk about something which is really front and center of what is happening in the world of business today. In the lead up to this session, you might have heard a number of speakers talk about the fact that there are digital platforms. I think I heard digital and platforms mentioned many number of times. And I want to talk about how businesses are moving towards a more platform-based economy. And that's really what we want to talk about today. Now, why is that so important? The platformization of businesses is not something new. It started many years back, but now is gathering pace. McKinsey estimates that nearly $60 trillion of revenue will be intermediated by digital ecosystems and platforms. And that's a huge number. It's more than twice the GDP of the United States today. Just for context, right? And then we normally talk about digital ecosystems, we talk about marketplaces, right? We're all used to it. Whenever we need a new iPhone cover or an Android phone cover, or we need to buy a new charger or just a simple t-shirt, what do? We reach out for the phone. And how does the phone interact with the various platforms, how seamless that journey is what determines whether we open the phone again to the same app, right? And now, especially in Asia, we are so digitally savvy, so much connected to our phones, that experience is starting to now move over into how we want to experience business when we talk with our partners, when we interact with our partners, when we order goods. Which is why the $21 odd trillion of revenues which are intermediated on B2B. I'm not talking about us buying t-shirts on a platform. I'm talking about small and large businesses interacting with each other to buy goods and services. That is $21 trillion by 2027 is the estimate. And even more importantly, sitting here in Asia, 2/3 of that number is expected to be in Asia, or $14 trillion. That is the size almost of China's economy today. Just to give you a sort of inkling of the size of the opportunity. But then, as somebody famously said, with great opportunity come a lot of frictions and pain points and challenges that we need to overcome. But one step before I do that, I want to talk about really just get us all on the same page on what do we mean by the platform economy, right? So I talked about marketplaces, retail marketplaces. We talked about B2B marketplace. We'll talk a bit more about that. But it is going far beyond that because the digital experience that we seek goes far beyond just companies buying goods from each other or individuals buying goods on marketplaces. It goes into things like travel. How do we look for travel opportunities? How do we look for opportunities for our kids for education? And how do we find providers? How do we look at investments and opportunities, how to use brokers? How do we look at anything, therefore, when you say insurance? So insurtech, edtech, wealth tech, you hear tech behind any of these industries, you know that they are heading towards or have already platformized themselves. That's what I really mean. So, and just to sort of think about how the platform economy has evolved, it would be something around, probably we see it as 3 big phases. One would be the really large retailers realizing that they need to go beyond brick and mortar and they need to now become digital. And say Macy's in the US or Lotte here in Asia, deciding that I also need to have a digital channel. And that suddenly starts to become so big, it actually takes over or starts to become an important contributor to revenues, even more than the original brick and mortar business, right? The second, potentially, is even more interesting. So we all use Netflix so easily today. Most of you might know that one time, how did they start? They were mailing physical DVDs to you on demand. Today, would they do that? No. It's an entire streaming-based platform, right? And the third are those which are even more interesting because Asia is just leapfrogging. What we are seeing is the rise of digital natives. They're born digital. So if you want to do, I talked about investments, if you were to talk about in our own backyard, Moomoo, Weeble, and Tiger Brokers, how do you see them? They interact with you digitally. How do they onboard you? Digital, right? So those are the kinds of platforms we want to talk about. And we see this really increasing at pace. And it is not just the large Amazons of the world, which are also in the same space. It's actually far more democratized. And the opportunity for even small businesses to get discovered digitally on large platforms is now there. And that is why it is important for all of us to see how we might help the platform economy thrive and how we can benefit by partnering and getting the benefit of the platform economy. But I promised you that with great opportunity, I will show you the challenges that exist. So, when you talk about businesses that are growing at pace, we always talk about the opportunity. And typically, most businesses and their, the founders will probably think first about how do I have the right business model, how do I find the right target market, and how do I become myself more attractive to them, isn't it? And that is rightfully what they should do. But as with anything to do with commerce, including even starting with retail marketplaces, when you start dealing with customers, when you start accepting payments and you start making settlements, there are other things that come along with it. Those are more mundane activities, not as exciting as onboarding a few thousand partners on your platform and feeling really good about it, but it's actually as mundane as making sure that two partners with the same name are actually have unique identifiers. We heard some other digital companies also just talk about that. That's as simple as that, segregating them. Then when you have transactions with them, the confidentiality of that data has to be, again, is paramount. Then making sure that when you have repeated transactions with the same customers, how do you make sure that you're able to record the history and segregate again and reconcile at will? And now we're talking about platforms. It doesn't mean walk-in customers. It's not a few hundred. It's not a few thousand. It's a tens of thousands of customers and counterparties, intermediate, and the platform just intermediating this whole flow between them, right? So how do they make sure this happens digitally and at scale? A lot of the transactions may not be really large transactions. They might be small, but they're numerous. And the additional complexities come when they are international. Can you imagine a small merchant in India selling to a small SME in Singapore? It's great that they have a great product, and it's great that our SME in Singapore has found a viable supplier. But when they want to make the purchase, make the payment, there are regulatory hurdles to be overcome. And the merchant in India may not know how to overcome that, so he needs a reliable partner. So when you want to make a payment regularly from Singapore to India, to Indonesia, to China, again, you need somebody who can help you manage that complexity. So that's really what I'm talking about. And you can go on and on and on, but the real point is platforms are better served focusing on the core job of making themselves more attractive to partners. And it is the job of certain service providers to see how they can take care of these mundane tasks. But unfortunately, today what happens is it's all over the place, right? So this is why I come to my punchline of today's discussion, which is why DBS came up with this whole solution called platform services. And this basically is our attempt to respond to all the pain points that I've just heard described time and again by our customers, telling us that when they try to grow the business, they actually get caught up in the complexity of managing these mundane tasks. And if they don't manage them well, they're going to run afoul of regulators, and they're going to lose the trust of customers and counterparties. So that is why what we did with DBS Platform Services is we tried to create a single comprehensive set of solutions which can talk seamlessly to each other. Across, we heard some speakers earlier talk about the need for unique identification of customers, segregation of their accounts, reconciliation on the go, payment, both cross-border and domestic. How do you take care of FX? How do you take care of regulatory reporting? So these are the kinds of services. And of course, we use foundational capabilities such as virtual accounts, because now you're talking about managing third-party monies, right? The platform doesn't own the money.
the money belongs to buyers and sellers and intermediaries. So how do you make sure they're properly segregated and accounted for? This is what we offer through DBS Platform Services. So one of the questions that I'm often asked is, oh, do I need to buy the entire package? We said, no, it doesn't work like that, because all businesses didn't start yesterday. Some started 5 years back, some started 10 years back, and they found some ways to manage through some of these problems. So what we offer is a modular approach. You can actually decide what of those services that you're offering would seamlessly integrate with those services that you already have. So this really is what DBS Platform Service is all about. So I wanted to take the opportunity to also put the spotlight on some of the our valued customers who are actually using this, who've gone into the concept of DBS Platform Services, understood what it offers, and they find value in it. So an example would be DCS. DCS, as many of you might know, should know, at least I know, is Diners Card Singapore, very well-known name for issuance of charge cards. So we've been partnering with them to offer something called DVault, which is basically accounts as a subset of their service. And it allows customers of DCS to basically manage expenses and put limits and manage it in a much more seamless fashion. It's powered by our virtual accounts capabilities. But then they said, can we layer on more services and make it more attractive? So they brought in their innovation arm called DCS Inno, and they said, can we offer now multi-currency accounts? Can we offer reconciliations on the go? And can we offer Forex capabilities? And we layer it on through DBS Platform Services. Then beyond card issuances, we also are working with, I mentioned Webull, Mumu, and Tiger Brokers. Investment brokerages dealing with third-party funds, dealing with customers who trust them to make investments, their personal investments happen. And it is powered by a lot of the items I talked about under DBS Platform Services. And of course, across India, China, and other locations, we are working with fintechs and financial providers and other intermediaries who are enabling e-commerce to happen. So this is the power of DBS Platform Services. And I really wanted to say that the platform economy is here. It is here to stay. It is not going away, and it's actually going to grow. In Asia, it is going to grow at the rate of 18% CAGR. It has been growing for the last 8 years at the same CAGR, and is expected more or less it will grow at the same pace. The opportunities are ours to take. Let's partner. So please come and talk to me and my colleagues. Here, we are in hall number 2 in our DBS booth, or find us, and we'll be happy to talk to you about how we could benefit from platforms. Thank you.